Since that day, nothing has ever been the same. I remember moving through the streets of Jerusalem that day when suddenly someone grabbed my arm. When I pulled it away by reflex, it was a Roman soldier. "Pick it up," he yelled at me as he pointed to the middle of the street. Well, I hesitated, and he shouted again while reaching for his sword. Well, I didn't wait another second. He shoved me into the street near a man on his hands and knees in the dirt. Long thorns, twisted into a crown, were pressed onto his head. Sweat and blood dripped off his body and pooled beneath him. Well, I knelt to pick up his burden. What had this man done to deserve this punishment? Well, I lifted the beam so it lay across my shoulders. I focused on the thorn-crowned man who walked before me. His back was torn and bloody. Well, I thought that any second he would fall. He might even die before we made it to the city wall. After a while, we made it to the gate, and from there I could see the hill. We started up the hill, and I thought, if it had taken so much effort just to make it out of the city, then this man would certainly die trying to climb to the top. Well, the people following us were still cursing at him. I was sweating and exhausted at this point, so I didn't turn back to look. Well, then a soldier called me over, and I dropped the beam at his feet. I knelt there, trying to regain my strength, when I heard the scream. You don't forget a scream like that. No one should ever have to hear it. The hammer would hit, and he would scream. I covered my ears to block out the sounds. No one deserved this kind of death. When I finally lowered my hands and opened my eyes, I saw him hung in front of me. Above his head there was a sign that said, "This is Jesus, King of the Jews." Well, if this man was the Messiah, why wasn't he fighting? Why didn't he save himself? The onlookers laughed and taunted him as he hung there. Eventually, dark clouds rolled across the sky. When I looked up at this man they called Jesus, King, I thought that he had already died. But then his chest moved. He yelled suddenly, my Father, why have you forsaken me?" Then his head fell, and he didn't move anymore. Well, a soldier approached the cross and spoke, though I couldn't hear what he said. In the silence, I slipped away from there. I just wanted to leave this place. I wanted to forget everything I had seen and heard, but I couldn't. I can't. That day changed everything.